Most of us wake up every single day reacting to the world around us, completely unaware that we are drifting. We mistake movement for progress, busyness for purpose, and survival for living. The uncomfortable truth is that if you do not intentionally take the time to design your life, the world will design it for you. And chances are, it hasn't planned much for your fulfillment. The tragedy of the human condition isn't that life is too short. It's that we wait so long to actually start living it with intention. Every day spent in passive inertia is a day you willingly hand over the steering wheel of your destiny to random chance. You are running out of your most valuable, non-renewable currency, time. Right now, you stand at a defining crossroads where you can either continue to let the current pull you wherever it pleases, or you can step out of the river, claim exactly 60 minutes of absolute focus, and become the deliberate architect of your own future. Many single men mistake daily survival for actual progress, completely blind to the fact that merely reacting to external demands is slowly eroding their personal sovereignty. When a man spends his years simply responding to digital notifications, social pressures, and immediate temptations, he isn't building a legacy. He is letting the current dictate his destiny. This constant reactivity takes a heavy psychological toll, trapping him in a loop of silent drift where his deep potential is surrendered for cheap convenience. True freedom for a man begins when he stops playing defense against life and intentionally steps onto the field of purposeful design. A man cannot build a meaningful future if he does not first understand the deeper purpose behind his ambition. Without a clear why, any blueprint a single man creates in 60 minutes is just a superficial list of tasks that will quickly fail under pressure. When he lacks an ultimate cause larger than his immediate comfort, his psychological default is to seek instant gratification rather than long-term legacy. Anchoring his life design in a just cause shifts a man's identity from a lonely wanderer to a mission-driven leader. This internal psychological realignment gives him the unshakable conviction to resist distractions. Regret in a man's life rarely comes from failing at a specific task. It comes from the quiet realization that he spent his best years building a foundation he never actually wanted. When a single man lacks a deliberate blueprint, his complete autonomy easily transforms into a psychological trap of unfulfilled potential. Without structural intentionality, his absolute freedom shifts into aimless drifting, leaving him deeply vulnerable to the compounding anxiety of looking back on wasted time. Dedicating just 60 minutes to consciously architect his personal boundaries and core milestones creates a structural framework that protects his mental energy. By mapping out his own tactical path, he eliminates the daily decision fatigue that causes independent men to stall. The modern single man is constantly bombarded by short-term rewards that exploit his psychological desire for immediate gratification. When a man measures his success by finite, fleeting wins, he traps himself in an exhausting cycle of temporary highs that never build true fulfillment. This short-sighted focus fractures his purpose, leaving him drifting through life without a lasting foundation. Shifting toward a sustainable legacy requires an intentional choice to prioritize long-term vision over momentary comfort. When he spends 60 minutes mapping an infinite plan, he rewires his relationship with time, investing his independence into building something that genuinely endures. A man's attention is the most valuable currency he possesses, yet it is constantly mined by an economy explicitly engineered to keep him distracted. In the absence of a clear life design, a single man's focus becomes public property, easily hijacked by algorithmic noise. When he does not proactively protect his internal ecosystem, he unconsciously allows external forces to dictate his time and values. This psychological vulnerability depletes his mental energy, leaving him too exhausted to build his own future. Safeguarding this focus ecosystem requires an intentional commitment to establishing ironclad personal boundaries. By taking 60 minutes to architect his priorities, an independent man shifts from a consumer of someone else's agenda to the leader of his own mind. He stops allowing the digital world to fragment his thoughts, treating attention as a sacred resource reserved for his mission. This structural defense ensures his energy is poured into his life design. Sovereign leadership is not about dominating others. It is about a man finally claiming absolute authority over his own mind and choices. Too many single men live as passive passengers in their own lives, sitting in the back seat, while comfort, societal expectations, or simple habit do the driving. They wait for the perfect relationship, the perfect job, or a sudden burst of external motivation to finally kickstart their destiny. This psychological waiting room breeds a quiet form of resentment, where a man feels deep down that he is merely a spectator to his own existence. By refusing to take the wheel, he abdicates his inherent responsibility to lead himself first. Transitioning from a passenger to the author of your story requires a definitive, intentional shift in a man's psychological identity. When an independent man dedicates 60 minutes to deliberately design his life, he is making a profound declaration that he will no longer let circumstance dictate his worth. He stops waiting for permission to build his legacy and instead picks up the pen to write the rules of his own engagement. This hour of strategic design forces him to look in the mirror and accept full accountability for his trajectory, his boundaries, and his vision. In doing so, he transforms his unattached freedom from a source of aimless drift into a powerful engine of purposeful leadership.